and I want to introduce an interesting article. The name of the article is Our Sprawling Supersized Utopia. Do you understand the article? The name of that? Yeah, utopia. It means the idle dream. Yeah. Okay. And the author is David Brooks. And it was published on New York Times Magazine. Here is the main idea. This article is talking about an interesting migration in modern America. That is, people are moving from inner suburbs to outer suburbs. Do you know suburb? This word, suburb. It's an area that far from the center of the urban, and itself form another center that including living center, shopping center, and entertainment center. Understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So this interesting phenomenon, this migration, is the author that want to introduce to us. And then, throughout his explicit description, he argues with the critics, some critics. These critics said these critics gave its cultural implication of this phenomenon, but the author argues these critics and give his own cultural implication of this immigration. That is about American dream. So let me introduce you these parts of the article. In the first part, the author gave us the background of this migration, and he also gives us a diagram throughout his description. This diagram, just like this. This is the suburb era, and you can see this is the core of the suburb. If you drive throughout the suburb, in the ring, this era, this cultural zone is called crouching suburb. What is crouching suburb? People live in this era are all progressive. They are progressive, and the characteristics of these people are anti-commercial and countercultural. For example, they may lesbians or gays, countercultural and anti-commercial, and they concern little about economy. And you just keep driving, and you can come to a totally different cultural zone. This cultural zone is upscale in health. It means people living here are maybe doctors, professors, and lawyers. They drive luxury cars and buy luxury things. They live with a higher standard of economy. And you can see many grocery stores or dessert stores. I mean, people here are maybe concerned more about economy and different with the first era. Okay, you just keep driving, and the third cultural zone is called immigrant heavy. Here are many immigrants. They may Japanese, Chinese, and Indians, and so on. And the people here live with their own patterns and develop their own customs. Yeah. And the last cultural zone is called Exurbia. This era is full of middle class. Do you know middle class?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When mentioned the middle class, we may think some symbols. For example, golf. Yeah, golf. Or Ralph Lauren. Do you know Ralph Lauren? A famous brand. It's expensive. Yeah. And the characteristics of these middle class people are calm and neat, and they are successful and competitive. Yeah. Even their drivers, their wives, and their pets seems very noble, right? Yeah. So this era, people, the middle class, moved to this era because it is more fresh and neat, and yeah, and far from other era, they can have their own life. So some critics says that the suburbs are very dull and vacuous. They are dull and vacuous. They says Americans who live in the suburbs may concern more about the small and trivial images, and they are consumerist, wasteful, complacent, materialistic, and selfish. Do you understand these words? Yeah. For example, consumerist means that people are asserting to consume instead instead of saving. Yeah. And this words means they feel very proud of himself, very, you know, yeah, okay. And materialistic means they concern more about material things instead of mental things. Okay, so, and then in the second part, the author argues with these critics. He says these critics do not get suburbia and America right. Neither solve the mystery of motivation nor explain the dispersion. Why? Because he says Americans are the most hardest working people on the earth, and the nation of America has become and still continues to be the most powerful nation on earth. So the question is, even since the Americans are so successful and powerful, why? Why they decide to move one place to another and live so hard? What elements can impels them to uproot their family far from their hometown and to move a new era, a totally new era? So, in the last part, the author says, it is about American dream, which is informed by fantasy and imagination. So, if we want to talk about American dream, we should look back to American history. You know, at the very first beginning, when so many immigrants came to this new land, they find, with their hope, they find so many possibilities and opportunities and wealth on this earth. On this land, on this new land. Even if at the start they live in a very harsh condition, they just live with their hope. So, descent by descent, century by century, every generation of America has his own fantasy and imagination. That is about his own American dream. So it can explain why Americans never stop moving from one place to another place, and they never stop pursuing their grand projects. For example, writing a new book, starting a new business, and raising a family, and moving to a new place. These are all their dreams. So we can see that the suburbs themselves are a conservative utopia, because these suburbs made America think that the new era can help America help their dream come true. Yes. So Americans live in the temporary and unsatisfactory present, but they are looking at the wonderful future, the flourish future. And the author concludes that American dream prepares the Americans work so hard, consume so feverishly, and move so much. And this is the article. But I have some opinions and comments. Just look at this diagram. I just think that every cultural zone is totally different from another, right? So that means people live with themselves just, and they have no connection with the outside world. Yes. So maybe it will give us a feeling that the suburbs is very dull and selfish and vacuous, because every people have no connection with the others. They just concern more about themselves, right? It's just my opinion. And any question?
I have many questions.